Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Louise Hubar begins now.
Good evening. Wild weather has lashed southern Tasmania, with the state's capital recording more than its average monthly rainfall total in just 24 hours. Residents in the worst affected areas were hit with flash flooding as schools closed and rivers overflowed.
Spilling out onto main roads, waterways became inundated as popular parks and walking tracks turned into swimming pools.
It was fairly solid and consistent all night.
The weather event last night was very similar to weather events that we're having rather frequently.
These Newtown neighbours watched on as their local rivulet flowed over, prompting renewed calls for better management.
The water backs up and it's incapable of getting underneath the road through the culverts that's there.
They don't have the infrastructure there to cope with it.
The latest belting reminiscent of the 2018 flood event.
In a sense, it's the same sort of line of thunderstorms that caused that, but that event had much higher rainfall totals than we've seen here.
South Hobart residents did all they could as water trickled in through windows while Gilston Bay backyards were drenched.
We had a series of responses, but typically they were low level, and we had probably about 50 to 60 reports of water over the road.
Intense rainfall moved across the south of the state, with record monthly amounts reported by the Bureau.
The heaviest rainfall totals we've seen have been in excess of 100 millimetres in that period, with 124 millimetres at Mount Wellington, 120 millimetres at Nugent.
Thousands were also left without power as the SES dealt with a spike in requests for assistance.
In excess of 250 calls to the State Emergency Service. That we had a number of properties inundated due to the lack of ability for the rainwater system to be able to expel that water.
Hundreds of Tasmanian parents have been forced to make last-minute arrangements this morning, with South Hobart Primary School among the 14 education campuses that told students to stay home after shutting their doors due to the conditions.
After 4 a.m. this morning, we thought we'd actually dodged a bit of a bullet, to tell you the truth, until the thunderstorms started to eventuate.
The worst of the deluge is behind us, but the community is being warned to brace for more rain tonight. Grace Evans, 7 Tasmania News.
An 81-year-old man has died after being struck by a car in Claremont last night. Police arrived at the scene on Main Road just after 9 o'clock but were unable to revive him. It's understood the man was attempting to cross the road using a walking stick and wearing a high-vis jacket.
The roads are wet, like it's a lot of rain out there. We just need to reiterate, visibility's low, put your headlights on, slow down and drive to the conditions, and please remember the fatal 5.
Police will conduct crash investigations to determine the cause of the incident. They're calling for anyone with information or dashcam footage to contact police or Crime Stoppers. A former Tasmanian police officer will spend the next 3 years behind bars for causing a deadly crash in Launceston 2 years ago. 41-year-old Aaron Tasman Bonner was convicted of dangerous driving causing grievous bodily harm, killing a pedestrian while responding to a non-urgent call for backup.
On January 6, 2020, a family was torn apart after this deadly collision. Mining engineer Anthony Campbell was on a holiday with his wife Bernice when they were both struck by a police vehicle while walking along Patterson Street in Launceston CBD. Acting Sergeant Aaron Tasman Bonner was responding to a non-urgent call for backup when he accelerated and drove through a red light, killing the father of 3 almost instantly and seriously injuring Bernice. Last month, Mr Bonner pleaded guilty to dangerous driving causing grievous bodily harm, and today the 41-year-old appeared in the Hobart Supreme Court to learn his fate. Several of Anthony's close family members spoke during sentencing submissions, detailing the toll his death has taken on their lives. His emotional widow telling the court, "He was my biggest cheerleader, my defender. To the day he died, he was my best friend. His dad said Tony was a high achiever and a good person, and that there are many places the family can no longer visit. Mr Bonner's defence lawyer told the court the accused suffers from depressive episodes since the incident and has intense survivor guilt. Data taken from the police vehicle that night showed Mr Bonner drove at excessive speed, travelling 89 kilometres per hour in a 50 zone and accelerated almost 100% as he approached a red light. In his deliberations, Justice Robert Pearce said what occurred was a terrible error of judgment, but he is satisfied the accused had shown remorse. Aaron Bonner was sentenced to 3 years in prison and will be eligible for parole after serving half of that time. He will be disqualified from driving for 2 years after his release. A chance at closure for two families, grieving one unimaginable tragedy. Ainsley Kosh, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmania's new COVID case count remains high, with another 1,107 new infections recorded overnight. 46 patients are being treated for the virus in hospital, with 2 in ICU. These figures bring the state's active case total to just over 6,000. Officials are urging the public to stay on top of both COVID and flu vaccinations as the cool weather kicks in. Tasmanians are being reminded to vote in tomorrow's Legislative Council elections. Voters in the divisions of McIntyre, Huon and Elwick will head to the polls and elect their upper house members for the next 6 years. A list of polling places can be found on the Tasmanian Electoral Commission website. Labor is promising to help restore wetlands in the North Esk River if it comes into power. $8 million will be spent on the project, which aims to reduce sediment and improve water quality in the Tamar.
I think it's a sensible way forward to fund the priorities that the task force has identified.
Erosion control and revegetation form part of the plan. The Greens have announced a plan to seize native forest logging in Tasmania. The party says it would pay the state government $1 billion over 10 years to stop the practice, with an ecosystem restoration fund to be created.
When you stop logging forests, you maintain the ability of those forests to continue to sequester carbon.
We have to reduce our emissions. We have global obligations. They have deliberately excluded native forests owned by state governments from the current framework and architecture.
The plan would provide hundreds of job opportunities to displaced workers, as well as reducing climate change, and nominate Takanya Tarkine for World Heritage listing. The Jack Jumpers are marching into the Grand Final series in just over an hour's time, leaving a trail of green in their wake. Local schools, businesses and households are applauding the Ants, swapping out their uniforms for jerseys.
The Jack Jumpers issued a call out to schools across the state yesterday. Paint the town green for tonight's blockbuster. Riverside State School students heard it loud and clear. Tasmania's newest sporting team is inspiring a new generation of basketball fans.
I want to go play for the Jack Jumpers and then go to Europe to play. I love the sport. It's really interesting to play.
From Rugby in the south to Bicheno in the east, the Ant Army spans far and wide. Students from Hagley Farm School also loud in support. Join the march! Rain in Newstead couldn't dampen the spirit at St Thomas Moors.
I think just about every child in the school is in green today and dressed up, and they've really made an effort to support the team.
Merchandise has been flying off the shelves.
Sold out of the jerseys and caps. We had a good selection at the start of the week, but as soon as Monday started, lots of phone calls, lots of people coming in. The schools having a green day didn't help.
Regardless of the outcome tonight, as the historic NBL Grand Final series gets underway, there's no doubt the Jack Jumpers have fans for life. Supporters, big and small across the state, are getting behind the team for their clash with the Sydney Kings, with households lighting up the night sky, and the kids are confident what results on the way.
It's going to be flogging.
McKenna Bailey, 7 Tasmania News.
New electric vehicle chargers will soon begin popping up at some of Launceston's most popular tourist spots. The 4 charging stations will be installed at Cataract Gorge, Riverbend Park, the Inveresk Car Park and Lilydale Memorial Hall. Launceston Council received a $10,000 state government grant to put towards the $26,000 project. The e-scooter craze that's been sweeping Hobart and Launceston will soon make its way to the northwest. Burnie will begin trialling the electric vehicles next month when operator Beam delivers 150 e-scooters to the city. The company is also investing in footpath detection and speed technology and will introduce drink riding deterrents in coming weeks.
It's nearly showtime for the Jack Jumpers in the NBL Grand Final Series. The side had its final training session today at Kudos Bank Arena, fine-tuning ahead of the best-of-5 series against the Sydney Kings starting tonight. The group is feeling good despite a short lead-in after toppling Melbourne United on Monday.
Sydney play a little bit of a different style, but we have to bring our physicality. That's one of our strengths, and yeah, it's a big challenge for us tonight to try and get the game on our style.
Tip-off is at 7:30. Sally Ann Beams has inked a new 2-year deal to coach Tasmania's women's cricket sides. Beams has been at the helm since 2018 and led the Tigers to their first piece of silverware in March, claiming the WNCL title. Player contracts will be revealed next week. Lacko Seljack Cup action returns this weekend with Glenorchy facing Devonport in the quarterfinals. The Knights return to form with a 5-0 thumping of Olympia in the NPL last weekend.
It was a little bit of a frustrating one the week before where we played very similar to how we played against Olympia, but struggled to just put the ball in the back of the net.
Statistically, we won every area last time we played them. We just we failed to score. So, we're confident going in.
And the top 2 teams face off in the Women's Statewide Cup, Launceston United and South Hobart. Launceston won 3-1 last time they met.
Our main thing is we're top of the table, and I think even in some of our games, 5-0 wins, we haven't even been playing at our best yet.
Launceston is hosting that clash. A Tasmanian boxer is about to come up against an Olympian in the highest profile fight of his career. Leighton McFerrin will face off against Harry Garside for the Australian lightweight title at the King of the Castle pay-per-view on Wednesday. The event's set to give McFerrin huge exposure, with former NRL heavy hitter Paul Gallen fighting in the main event.
Couldn't even put into words how much it means to me. Like, coming from Tasmania, fighting out of RSL since I was 12 years old, to fighting on the biggest show that Newcastle could probably ever hold. It's going to be a stacked card. It's a sold-out venue with like 6,500 people.
McFerrin's opponent became the first Australian boxer to medal at the Olympics in more than 3 decades when he claimed the bronze medal in Tokyo. The Jack Jumpers' success is no threat to local footy, according to North Launceston. Coach Brad Cox-Goodger is confident AFL clubs will give Team Tasmania the green light later this year, sparking new hype around the grassroots game.
It shows the success of Tasmanian teams, as when we've got something branded under ourselves, it's going to be successful because they don't have any Tasmanian players playing for them, but the whole state's got behind them, so it'll be the same with an AFL side.
The Northern Bombers will be without ruckman Alex Lee when they head to Twin Ovals, facing a Tigers side boosted by midfielder Will Clifford's return and a promising start to the year.
There's always COVID hanging over everyone's head as well. Like, some weeks you might have to put a depleted lineup out there. So to be at 4-1 is really good.
And North Hobart host Clarence. Devils players will top up clubs' lists this week. And this week, Tasmanian woodchopping lost one of the greats in champion axeman Doug Ude. So for tonight's Friday flashback, we're celebrating his life during woodchopping's golden era in the 70s. Growing up as one of 7 boys, Doug Ude had to prove he was a cut above. Whether it be here at the Launceston Show, the Exeter Show, or in Penguin, he'd usually have at least one brother to contend with.
Looking down here at the moment, we've got Billy Ude going tremendously well again. Eric Farrow moving nicely. Doug Ude's going like a bullet down the left-hand side.
Needless to say, woodchopping was in the blood. The dashing Deloraine axeman produced countless world championships, both interstate and in his own backyard.
There it is. Doug Ude on block number 2 has taken out the McCulloch Chainsaws Australian Tree Felling Championship.
He was even awarded an MBE and membership in the Tasmanian Sporting Hall of Fame.
He had that style about him like a marathon runner.
Bill Ude was the youngest of the boys.
Back marker, there he goes, off 70 seconds behind Bill Ude.
He remembers his older brothers spurring each other on.
They used to compete for prizes like school pencils and this is back in the 40s, of course.
Well, your brother was part of the team as well?
Oh yes, young Billy. He was the winner in the Australasian Tree Felling Championship as well.
Doug's decorated career even saw him feature overseas before retiring on his own terms after a glittering 37-year career.
With wood chopping, you're lucky enough, you're going pretty well when you're 18 and you're still going pretty well when you're well into your 40s.
Wisdom Doug's heard before.
But they say that when you reach the late 40s that you're just starting to reach your peak as an axeman.
I haven't reached 40 yet, Ray.
Doug Yude was 95.
Good evening. Well, the rains came and with a huge impact over the south and east, and temperatures dropped below average. Hobart and Launceston 13, Burnie 11, 14 for Devonport. Friendly Beaches and Flinders Island 15 degrees today, Low Head 14, Bushy Park 13, St Helens and Strahan 12 and Lyawini a high of 5. And the rainfall. Several sites in the southeast reported between 75 and 100 millimetres, including 85 millimetres at Hobart. Spirals of cloud swept right over the state today. A cold pool of air is moving over us now. Clear conditions over central parts of the country. A frontal band of high cloud over the Tasman Sea reaches across Queensland. Tomorrow a low re-intensifies to our southeast. An occluded front wraps around us as well, a high across most of the mainland. We'll still have the stiff winds tomorrow, northwest to southwest at 25 to 35 knots over northern waters, shifting south-southwesterly during the morning, swells to 3 metres. A gale warning for waters from Stanley right round and down to Tasman Island, a strong wind warning for remaining coastal waters. A moderate flood warning has been issued for the Jordan River, and quite a few other various flood warnings exist too. All detailed information on the Bureau's website. A warning to sheep graziers for King Island, the Furneaux Group, Central North and the northeast of the state. Into the weekend we go. 15 for Hobart and showery. Early fog for Maydena, a shower later. 12 the top and just 11 for Oatlands. Launceston a shower or two and 16. 16 also for Devonport with an early shower. Showers for Lyawini. 0 to 7 the temperature range. 15 for Burnie with a shower. Morning fog and showers for Strahan. 15. 14 the top for Marrawar. And St Helens a shower or two. 16 tomorrow, 13 for Swansea, showery for Orford and 14 degrees. On Sunday, mostly fine apart from showers over the west and south. Fine on Monday, maybe a light shower over the west, central and south. Inland frost patches for Tuesday, but the rain should have passed. A sunny 26 in Perth tomorrow, a shower or two for Adelaide, Melbourne and Brisbane. A sunny 20 in Sydney and 35 and apparently less humid in Darwin. And cloudy conditions at the moment with the news that Kim Miller is slowly recovering from her 50th birthday party, but not good enough to read tonight, Louise.
Poor Kim, she really cops it. Thank you for that, Merv. That's all your news for this Friday night, but I'll be back later with updates. Thanks for joining us. Good night.